Ezekiel chapter 19 uses two lamentations to describe the downfall of the kings of Judah, illustrating the destruction of the Davidic monarchy and the consequences of Judah's rebellion against God. The first lamentation begins by describing the reign of King Josiah, symbolized as a lioness who gave birth to two cubs. The first cub represents King Jehoahaz, Josiah's son, who was taken captive by Pharaoh Necho after a brief and unfaithful reign. The second cub represents Jehoiakim, another son of Josiah, who also ruled wickedly, and whose reign led to the eventual downfall of Judah. Despite their potential, both kings failed to live according to God's standards, leading to their tragic ends. The second lamentation shifts focus to the reign of Jehoiakim, another son of King Josiah, symbolized as a young lion who was captured by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. The chapter depicts how Jehoiakim, who had been a king for only a short time, was removed from power and taken to Babylon, where he was kept in prison for the remainder of his life. Ezekiel portrays the fall of these kings as a tragic event, marking the demise of the royal family and the loss of Judah's sovereignty. The lament emphasizes the failure of the kings to act justly and lead the people in righteousness. Ezekiel uses these tragic figures of the kings to illustrate the consequences of unfaithfulness to God. The chapter compares Judah's kings to a vine that was planted by the waters, which initially grew strong, but became weak and useless after it was not properly tended or nurtured. This image points to the failure of Judah's leadership to remain faithful to God and to uphold His commands. The chapter serves as a reminder that those who fail to obey God's ways will eventually face judgment, and the kingdom of Judah, once prosperous, is now doomed to destruction. The chapter concludes with a call to Judah to reflect on their current situation and learn from the fate of their kings. Ezekiel laments the fall of the royal family, but it is also an indictment of the people of Judah, who have followed the corrupt leadership. God's judgment on Judah is final, and the loss of the monarchy marks the end of an era for the people of Judah. However, the chapter indirectly points forward to a future hope, where God promises a return to His favor and a restoration of the kingdom under a new, faithful ruler in the coming Messianic age. Let's now read Ezekiel chapter 19. Moreover, take thou up a lamentation for the princes of Israel. And say, What is thy mother? A lioness, she lay down among lions, she nourished her whelps among young lions. And she brought up one of her whelps, it became a young lion, and it learned to catch the prey, it devoured men. The nations also heard of him, he was taken in their pit, and they brought him with chains unto the land of Egypt. Now when she saw that she had waited, and her hope was lost, then she took another of her whelps, and made him a young lion. And he went up and down among the lions, he became a young lion, and learned to catch the prey, and devoured men. And he knew their desolate palaces, and he laid waste their cities, and the land was desolate, and the fullness thereof, by the noise of his roaring. Then the nations set against him on every side from the provinces, and spread their net over him, he was taken in their pit. And they put him in ward in chains, and brought him to the king of Babylon, they brought him into holds, that his voice should no more be heard upon the mountains of Israel. Thy mother is like a vine in thy blood, planted by the waters, she was fruitful and full of branches by reason of many waters. And she had strong rods for the scepters of them that bear rule, and her stature was exalted among the thick branches, and she appeared in her height with the multitude of her branches. But she was plucked up in fury, she was cast down to the ground, and the east wind dried up her fruit, her strong rods were broken and withered, the fire consumed them. And now she is planted in the wilderness, in a dry and thirsty ground. And fire is gone out of a rod of her branches, which hath devoured her fruit, so that she hath no strong rod to be a scepter to rule. This is a lamentation, and shall be for a lamentation. This ends our reading of Ezekiel chapter 19.